I guess you often hear about offline experience as one of nice-to-haves of a good modern website, and it's one of the main requirements for a progressive web application. These terms are taken from Mozilla's introduction to PWAs. Mozilla is talking about network independence, and it's a broader topic. It means that we handle not only offline cases, but slow connection as well. Actually, slow connection experience seems to me even more important than offline support. These two problems are tightly related, and thankfully, oftentimes we can solve them together. Tools for offline support constantly evolve, and in 2021 the most obvious choice is Service Workers, Cache API, and IndexedDB. Today we can find some nice examples of websites which provide offline experience, and some of these sites qualify as progressive web applications. Today, without internet connection, you can visit, for example, App Starbucks. It's just a nice looking page with some promotional information. We don't see any dynamic data, and we can't do anything useful here. Pinterest has this offline interface. It's clickable, you can switch between tabs, but still no real information here, just a message that you're offline. Alibaba is a little more interesting and more advanced. There is some dynamic data displayed here. And there are some really spectacular examples like Lucidchart. Here you can customize the offline behavior, and if you choose to save your documents for offline usage, then you can edit them regardless of your connection. This all happens offline, and for me it's really amazing. But it's a bit too fantastic and apparently very expensive. So let's delve deeper into more basic example of network independence, offline version of Twitter. Like Pinterest, it has a clickable offline interface. You can switch between tabs and do some other stuff. Almost no dynamic information except your profile details. And you can type your new tweet here. If you try to submit, it will certainly fail. But if you go back online, then it's happily submitted and everything is great. So here we have a slightly improved offline experience. You can type before connection is restored. It's of course a very subtle thing, but for me it's better than nothing, because there is a chance that offline user will reach his goal a little faster. And here I would like to emphasize once again that offline experience and slow connection experience are closely related and sometimes may be improved together. And look what happens if I switch to slow internet and refresh. The static part of this interface appeared almost immediately on a screen. These are the same buttons and inputs that we show to an offline user. And the dynamic part, the tweets, was slowly downloaded from the net. So in this case, offline support was beneficial for a slow user as well. And I think that this improvement is more significant, because in case of a user who completely lost his connection, there is a very little chance that he will achieve his goal on a website. And we usually can just give him a candy, some pretty but non-functional page. It's unlikely to solve any real problems. In contrast, if a user is on a slow connection, the goal is usually achievable, but it takes more time. And we can slightly speed up this process by showing the static stuff quickly, and this is a more practical help than offline candy. Great, now we can mitigate some connection problems with modern technologies. And it's nice to see them implemented on many websites. But by many, I don't mean that offline support has become something common in the web. My impression is that it's still something unique. And I will be really surprised if tomorrow my manager asks me to implement offline support, because we always have something more tangible and profitable to build. Today, on many projects, a bad connection is primarily a concern of native mobile applications. So I suppose that a good case for a network-independent web application is when you can't afford a native mobile application, and you even can't afford a pseudo-native application built with something like Flutter or React Native, but you still care about mobile users. Some may say that it's a case for PWA. Well, perhaps today it will be the most fashionable idea. But for now I still prefer to talk about network independence alone. I mean, you don't have to build a super amazing PWA. Instead, you can make some small and tangible improvements which are really necessary at the moment. PWA is a collection of ideas about how to make websites competitive with native mobile applications. And I dislike at least one of these ideas: installability. I hate these banners that suggest to install a website, and I absolutely don't need a million icons on my home screen. So I don't want to talk about stuff that makes internet worse from my point of view. We may try to build a network independent app and be confident that we made the user a little happier. I think there are several things that we should understand before deciding to invest into network independence on a given product. First of all, what is the cost of network independence? How much complexity do we introduce by this? Service workers are sometimes tricky, so I'd like to discuss the possible pain points. Next, there may be different levels of offline support. Offline applications may vary in terms of richness and functionality. We may simply tell a user that he is offline and give him a nice refresh button, or we may follow Twitter's example and display a static part of the interface without real data. And it may get more and more complex. So let's figure out what can we possibly achieve. I also want to talk about different caching strategies. You can manage your cache in different ways, making certain trade-offs between performance and freshness of your page. And finally, what tools do we have to simplify the development of network-independent applications? And maybe there are some JavaScript frameworks that provide offline support by default. Firstly, I'd like to figure out how exactly offline mode works on Twitter. What are the underlying technologies there?